as they go. I'm Ryan. I'm familiar with a few people that I think on the squares here. I've got Sue as well from the city of New Westminster, and then we're also pleased to be joined by Thomas and Jennifer from the City Green Solutions, who are presenting on behalf of the Clean BC Better Homes program and supporting us with the energy retrofits. We were supposed to have local resident Jonathan Bayless, who was part of the Deep Energy Retrofit project, which we're quickly going to touch on at the beginning here. But unfortunately, he had to deal with a family matter. So we'll do our best to just present a little bit about his project and share. But we'll maybe tee him up for another time where he can talk about his specific experience and how the comfort levels and energy bills and things like that have changed in his house. Before we get started, if you have any questions, feel free to just raise your hand. It's a smaller group, so we'll be happy to take questions as we go, I think. Thomas, if you're cool with that. Yeah. And then as well, if you want to put it in the chat, we have Jennifer, who is going to assist us with monitoring the chat and responding. Additionally, for those folks who you don't have to worry about notes and stuff. Oh, nice, Bo. Bo's here from the other. All right, Bo. Well, if you want to speak up, if you feel comfortable enough to speak up, we'd be happy to have you share sort of how your experience is going and how the retrofits have changed your home. So feel free, but if you don't, I'm not going to put you on the spot. We will be sharing the slides, so those will go out to folks, so you don't have to worry about like screenshots and stuff like that. We'll be posting them on our website and sending them out with the Q&A. So with that, maybe I'll get Leah, if you want to. I'm pleased to have Leah here, who is the senior manager with climate action at the city, and she's going to join us for the initial part to give a welcome and provide some context around some of the enabling work and policies that her and her team support on with energy retrofits and decarbonization efforts. So over to you, Miss Leah.
Yes, hi everyone. I'm Leah Bear. I'm the manager of the climate action team at the city. Really, I'm part of the team that has developed and worked on the climate action strategies that we're using in order to meet our targets of the city to hit zero emissions by 2050 for both the community and the city itself. We've created 3 major strategies to help us get there, one of which is the corporate energy emission reduction strategy, one of which is the e-mobility strategy, and one is the the community energy and emissions reduction strategy. So those are all available, and they I outline all the actions and initiatives we're doing in order to meet our targets. And I think there's a few slides later on that kind of speak a bit more to some of the policies we have. But
Sue, do you want to put up the slides?
Well, I've gone a little too far. I should have started off where I was supposed to start off, which is, I also want to acknowledge where we are as a city and where we work and live and spend our time and enjoy. So we do recognize and respect the city of Westminster is on the unceded and unsurrendered land of the Homeowner-speaking people. We acknowledge that colonialism has made invisible their histories and connections to the land. As a city, we are learning and building relationships with the people whose lands we are on, and we continue to grow and learn and build those relationships and implement them and bring that into the conversations in terms of how we work and grow together as a community.
Perfect. Thank you, Leah. So our agenda for tonight, as Leah was alluding to, and we were speaking about, so we're going to start with just a really quick introduction with some context setting from ourselves and Leah. So just chat on or talk on the community action in New Westminster and the most recent update to the community energy and emissions plan. And then we have a quick update on some activities that are happening with Energy Save New West to support in this space. And then we're going to go through a few slides specific to an exciting retrofit initiative that's happening kind of province-wide with a particular focus on the local projects here in New Westminster, and that's around deep energy retrofits, and it really segues nicely into the into the third part of our presentation, which is the bulk of stuff that we've got Thomas and Jennifer here to present on, which is around just general energy efficient rebates and upgrades and prioritizing and sequencing and how to do that, as well as maximize the incentives and rebates that are really available right now for folks who are doing upgrades. I can present, Sue, if you want.
Yep. Okay.
Go ahead. Go ahead, Leah.
Sure. So as I sort of started getting into, as I was just doing my own introduction, the climate action team is really was formed after the city had declared the climate emergency in 2019. And again, that climate emergency was really the city recognizing our role in the fight against climate change. From that, the city developed the 7 bold steps for climate action. And really the goal around that was to make the climate work a little more tangible and relatable to the community. So using these bold steps, if we are able to realize a carbon-free corporation, a car-like community, et cetera, is the list that's there, by doing that, we will inherently, one, create a much nicer place to live, but also work our way towards a zero carbon future. So it was a more tangible way of really understanding what are the types of things we might do that make up that zero carbon future for our city. And what's really relevant in this conversation is bold step number 3, which is carbon-free homes and buildings. We have a few goals in there, one of which is looking at by 2030 that all new and replacement heating and hot water systems are zero emissions, but also recognizing that the city has an electric utility, which is pretty unique and quite a great opportunity for us. And it's a place where we can continue to secure and deliver carbon-free energy to the city, upgrading our electrical grids to be smarter, looking at generation opportunities, and requiring rapid conversion to building and vehicle electrification. So all of those things we do with our electric utility really helps enable all the other climate work that we're doing. And then again, a focus here that might be of great relevance to our community members sitting with us today is the Community Energy and Emissions Plan. So this is a document that really outlines the big picture. What are the types of actions we need to take as a city, both directed by city staff, but also in collaboration with all of our residents to meet our emission targets. So that plan is available through the city's website, and it is broken out into sections to help it make it a little easier to read, where you can read about transportation, buildings, energy, waste and circular economy, and natural systems. And it really shows how the climate work fits into all aspects of how the departments within the city, in terms of how we deliver our work, and also how it relates to supporting our community in terms of reaching our zero emissions goals. Nice. So I think with that, I'll pass it back along to.
Perfect. Thank you. Ryan. Thank you, Leah. So Energy Save New West is really one of the on-the-ground dimensions to the efforts of the city and Leah and her team. So we wanted to give a couple quick programmatic related updates that we thought would be relevant to today's subject matter and folks who are doing this type of work in New West. The first one is just around our infographic. So we do publish it on an annual basis, kind of the work that we're doing and our results in the field. Just 1 second. Sorry about that. So that is available now if you want to see on a blog post on our website, and you can download a PDF version. Second one is we've done a couple webinars now, as well as some industry engagement around heat pumps and electrification and decarbonization. So although that's not the focus tonight's webinar necessarily. We are coming out with a few new supporting tools, specifically around a noise guide, around bylaw compliance and mitigation to manage that. And then we have some case studies that we have been developing, that we are harnessing some of the learning and sharing from local homeowners, as well as their experience with contractors and the equipment that we are hoping to publish and make available. And then lastly, which is very relevant to this discussion tonight, is that the last couple of years, the Canadian Greener Homes program has been out, which has provided kind of a very rich incentive rebate environment combined with Clean BC. And there are whispers in the community that may be retiring here soon. So if you are looking to maximize your incentives and rebates, it's best to get started now and get registered now, like today, in our program, and then also into the Greener Homes program. All right. Okay, so quickly on the FortisBC Deep Energy Retrofit Pilot. So just for context, so this is an initiative led by FortisBC, and the specificity around it was to really look at how low you can go towards zero emissions, while also kind of retaining your primary, like gas is your primary heating and domestic hot water sources. It is looking to demonstrate significant savings in energy as well as greenhouse gas emissions. And I think the key thing here is that, and we'll talk about it, is the house as a system sort of building envelope first approach. From a what's exciting about this from a City of New Westminster kind of standpoint is, number one, it's a very unique pilot. There really isn't any of these on the ground at this level of scale that are happening right now in the broader Canadian context, as well as kind of in North America. And 2 houses in New Westminster are participating out of over 200 applications that were received in British Columbia. So 20% of the projects are happening right here in New Westminster. So that's a kudos to the local residents and the amount of engagement and awareness and interest in this subject and activities that New Westminster has. The last piece that we just wanted to mention about this is just around the measures themselves. So this is a comprehensive approach that combines envelope and mechanical systems. So a select group of houses, 16 of the 20 received what we called standard, what ECM stands for there is energy conservation measures. So that was a combination of windows, doors, HVAC, domestic hot water, air tightness, and insulation. So insulation, which is all sort of conventional practices, but designed to achieve a minimum of 50% GHG and then 50% GJ reductions. And all of the projects are designed to achieve that objective. The second one is just a bit of an enhancement. So there's a select group of 4 projects, one in Langley, one in Campbell River, and then 2 in the colder climate zone 6 in Kimberley and Nelson that are receiving all of the conventional measures. But then in addition to that, they're actually getting exterior insulation and new building cladding, as well as they're getting what's called a dual fuel space heating system. And that is a retaining or getting a furnace, but having a heat pump to provide the primary heating as well as the cooling in the summer, which is an added benefit. And then the gas furnace is there to on the coldest days to act when needed to provide the space heating. So that's the context of the pilot. And then if you jump to the next slide, so this is Jonathan's house. Unfortunately, he's not with us, but we do have Bo, and we've got Bo's slide here coming in a second. So he has an older 1940s house, about 2,500, 2,600 square feet. The work that he needed was both a combination of envelope and mechanical systems. So we're doing, or we have done attic and basement insulation upgrade, as well as significant air sealing. All of his windows were replaced and upgraded to triple glazed high performance windows, as well as high performance doors. And then a combination of HRV, so went from exhaust only ventilation, which all the houses had, because we were going to lower air tightness. Ventilation is a key component. So new HRVs were installed in each of these houses, along with high efficiency furnace upgrade and tankless hot water system. And then, you know, I think the key focus we want to draw your attention to is the estimated energy and greenhouse gas emission savings. So 56% energy reduction from 171 gigajoules to 76 gigajoules, and then a reduction of 64% in terms of the greenhouse gas reductions from 7.5 tons there to 2.7 tons. And then Bo's house, and Bo, if you want to pipe in after I sort of like introduce, because we go back to Jonathan's place, feel free. If not, that's totally fine as well. So Bo also lives in New Westminster, and she has a 1964 house, 2,200 square feet. Again, she had a conventional package, but received all new attic insulation, air sealing, triple glazed windows, again, high performance doors, and a similar mechanical package with a high efficiency furnace, tankless hot water, and HRV. And similar significance in terms of the GHG and GJ reductions in terms of 58 and 69%. I don't know if you wanted to comment, Bo. I know you've been quite enthusiastic about the work that's been done on your house, which is great. That's where we want to get to.
Yes, I am super excited about what you've done to this house. I just applied because I read it in the Energy Save New West, and I just thought I didn't really stand a chance of getting this, but I applied, and I'm so glad I did, because the comfort level is just beyond my wildest dreams. It was so cold and drafty and moist in here, and so the comfort is unbelievable with the triple glazed windows, especially, and the insulation is coming, and it's almost done. Everything's almost done now. And the environmental thing was really, really important to me. I sit on the district climate action committee, and I felt really bad that I was burning so much in this old house. So what they've been able to do is just absolutely, I'm just so incredibly grateful. And it saves me money, and it's, it improves my home, the value of my home too. I just can't recommend it enough to anybody. I'm just thrilled to bits. So yeah.
Well, thanks, Bo. We appreciate your participation and your great feedback, and so happy we were able to make a change and help you and your home.
I know it's been great. Thank you so much.
Yes. Awesome. And then this is Jonathan's. So this was a slide that we were going to get him to present to. I won't. I'll pick up the pace here because we do want to get over to the Clean BC folks. That's just some visuals of the work that was sort of completed. So you've got some pre and post kind of photos there. I think the key things that I want to really highlight here. Number one, we went. This house is getting significantly more airtight through detailed insulation and air sealing upgrades. So we're going from approximately 10.5 air changes down to 2.5 air changes per hour. And all of that is like a lot of heat loss. So we're significantly improving the structure in the building envelope, which has allowed us to basically drastically downsize the actual equipment that is going in the house. So you see there, previously, Jonathan had almost 100,000 BTU standard efficiency or mid efficiency furnace. And although he is retaining a gas appliance, that appliance is being significantly downsized to for a house that really only requires 20,000 BTUs per hour under design conditions. It is a variable speed, so it is able to modulate down to the necessary BTU kind of requirements. And you can see on the left as well, the design heat loss at the 10.5 air changes was 52,000 BTUs. So his furnace was significantly oversized before he even went to his current furnace. But I guess just to tie this all up and kind of move towards transitioning to the Clean BC folks, this is really around that envelope based approach. So like when you improve your envelope, when you do your insulation, when you do your air sealing ahead of doing your mechanical systems and sequencing it properly, you're able to achieve added benefits of smaller equipment, and less heat loss in your home, and improve comfort and all the other sort of benefits, health, indoor air quality, and stuff like that that Bo's highlighting there, especially when you're putting in HRVs and balanced insulation or balanced ventilation. Okay. Yeah, and that's just a before and after picture. And as Sue's highlighted, nicely highlighted here, some of the finishing is still yet to be done on these houses. They're all of them are due to be fully completed with post-energy evaluations and heading into 1 year of measurement verification at the end of March. So that's one of the cool things that I didn't mention in the pilot beforehand. We're talking about modeled information right now. Embedded in this project is a year of measurement and verification to see how these houses actually achieve when occupied and run under regular operating conditions with the actual occupants themselves. So it'll be great to see what those results are when they get shared, over the next year. But they're all getting a year of measurement and verification. Perfect. Okay. And then lastly, before we give it off to Clean BC, so if you are interested in any more to do with this topic, there's lots of super good resources available with links here, both on Fortis's website, as well as some stuff through Energy Save New West, highlighting obviously the local dimension to the pilot, but you can see other work that's being done in the other areas of the province, including some of the more significant upgrades and packages that are happening in the colder climate, as I mentioned. So with that, yeah, thanks so much. And we really appreciate having Thomas and Jennifer here to spend some time with us and talk about some of the incentives and programs and things that are happening with Clean BC.
Thank you very much for that introduction. Let me just make sure I'm sharing here the proper screen. Perfect. Awesome. And yeah, good afternoon. My name is Thomas, as it's been said, and my colleague Jennifer will be joining us from the Community Energy Coach Program. Today, we're going to be presenting basically the energy efficiency slides today. We will be sharing other different resources about rebates. This webinar will be recorded and will be available, as we have said. And different rebates and amounts will be reflected as February 7th, 2024. Any other updates or anything like that, always visit betterhomesbc.ca. And at the end of the session, if you have any questions, you can always drop them in. We will have a quick little Q&A as well. But yeah, either option is good there for you. Moving along here, sorry, just have there we go. Just would also like to quickly acknowledge ourselves here. We are on the Wisanich territories of the Strait Salish people and the Songhees and the Esquimalt. And Wisanich, just wanted to acknowledge that in the land that we are standing on. Today, we were going to talk about many different types of topics today, GHG emissions, different components of your house and things like that. And then also finally, just the grants and different things that are available to you. First, I want to really kind of overview what greenhouse gases are, because they're typically thrown around a lot. Greenhouse gases are made up of many different types of gases: carbon dioxide, methane, nitrous oxide. Typically, we're mostly concerned with CO2 and CH3 as most kind of things we deal with. What typically contributes to these GHG emissions is kind of an encompassing thing. Human-based activities, deforestation, agriculture, burning fossil fuels, those all release GHGs into our atmosphere and then also kind of basically modify it and change it as it goes. Our homes are definitely one of those major things that we need to be concerned about, and the emissions in the sources that we use. Higher efficiency furnaces and things like that, and high efficiency heat pumps are always going to be beneficial at reducing the overall amount of emissions that you're giving, and then also having that upgraded house. Houses that are heated by gas on average produce about 50 GHG on average. That's about 2 barbecue propane tanks if you want to put it into kind of an average. Metro Vancouver typically is the highest amount of GHG burning, but most other communities are typically the same, as natural gas being their kind of main source of heating. This photo just kind of references the different amount of GHG over all the different types, oil heating being the most worst, but we typically actually don't see that as prevalent over here in the West Coast. As you can see, heat pumps do produce some GHG, but they're typically very minimal and don't produce as much as you think. Overall, I want to also note that BC has 98% electricity generated by hydropower. We generate about 702 megawatts of wind power and about 303 megawatts of solar power. So it accounts for a lot of our overall time and kind of clean energy that we perform. Sorry, just slow here. And these are the different types of upgrades we'll kind of go through. First, we're going to talk about heat pumps. Then we're going to talk about windows, insulation for your whole house, solar panels, water heating, and air sealing are all the different types of things we will be kind of touching on today. First, before we kind of quickly get there, Ryan has already definitely talked about this, but this is the house as a system concept. This concept wants to talk about as the house as a whole. Everything you approach at it has an effect that you will, in the end, do to it. So if you add more insulation and things like that in air sealing, you definitely have to watch out for your ventilation. So those are some examples of what we're kind of looking to talk about. Each item has a spider web and has a connection that we have to always think about. Some examples that we're going to talk about are air leakage issues. Like I said, if you seal them up too much, you also need to move some of that air and moisture outside. So things like your heat pump, our different types of HVRs that we have seen, those will be effective ways at removing those kind of stale and dirty airs. What are the benefits? You'll be able to have a smaller size system, as we have stated before, more efficient heating and cooling, and then also your temperatures inside of your house will stay more consistent, as Bo has actually noted there. Home evaluations are something that are very beneficial and very helpful for you to understand what upgrades are going to be needed for your house. They are comprehensive, unbiased. The energy advisor will always give you what is real in your house, what is going on, and what you need to do to kind of make your next steps. It will always help you find the solutions that you want to do for your house, making sure that you are got the best options for yourself too as well, and then guide you as much as they can towards different rebates and grants as they can. All should typically complete a blower door test. Some conditions, there are reasons that they do not complete it for health reasons, but it is typically need to always do a blower door test when they do these. We are going to brush over two key incentive programs. First will be the provincial system, which will be through Clean BC. That will be typically about over $13,000 in rebates in a total. You have municipal top-up programs and then regional programs such as Energy Save New West that will always have the ability to kind of have different programs that will be able to help you as well. The other one is going to be the federal program, which is the $5,000 grant, the $40,000 interest-free loan for 10 years, and then the $10,000 oil heat pump affordability program. First, I will just quickly go over the income qualified programs and the different Clean BC programs that they have. Clean BC has about, like I said, over 13,000. It's about 14,500 total, but that is how much they have available for rebates that you can get to your house. They also have the income qualified program that if you are of lower income, that you can access for grants and things like that at a higher amount of money given back as a rebate. Also looking at different things, they do have a low interest finance program and in different types of new construction programs as well. The Greener Homes Initiative is a little bit different. For most of the program, you need to get an energy evaluation to perform at any part of the program, except for the oil to heat pump affordability program. You do not need a energy guide evaluation. You just need to apply on the site for the application. This is the general process of the Canada Greeners Home Grant process and also the loan process as well. Both will follow very similar processes that you need to get an EnerGod evaluation. You need to get that report, typically checking what upgrades are best for your house and talking to your energy advisor if you have questions, applying those upgrades, applying for the loan beforehand if you are going to do that, and then moving towards doing all those retrofits, finishing it off and finishing off the application and getting your post retrofit as well. After you're done all of those items, you could always ask the Canada Greeners Home Grant Program for any extra help as well along that process. Next, we will be talking about the different types of upgrades in your house. what those are and what those are entailing to you, and give you ideas of what to do. First, I want to talk about the heat pump as itself. Heat pumps are always talked about, and kind of getting an idea of what they do is a very big kind of first step. Heat pumps generate electricity to heat through your house. They do this by transferring the heat from the outside to the inside via coolants in the refrigerant lines. They typically are about 3 to 4 times more efficient than most energy electric-based heating systems, and are very typically good for your house and overall reducing the energy usage. There are typically 2 common types that we always reference here: central ducted, ductless. There are other uncommon types that are not typically installed, but they're air-to-water heat pumps and geothermal as well. Central ducted heat pumps use usually typically your old connected vents that you have in your house, things like that. Always to keep in mind, you always want to check with your contractor or HVAC contractor. If you do need to upgrade that vent or that ducting, you definitely need to make sure that they know about it, or they tell you before you go to install it, the extra costs or anything like that that is associated with that. What this will do is provide cooling and heating for your whole house as normal as you would typically have in a central ducted system. So typically you won't get any much of a difference, but you will just get a higher efficiency overall as well. The next type that we typically talk about or kind of reference here is the ductless mini split system. That system is typically with indoor heads, as you see on the screen there. That head is more able to give you zonal heating and cooling in the house, and has a little bit more control on each unit itself. So that's what it typically offers. All the refrigerant lines are typically done through these little kind of pipes that look like water pipes almost. And that is better for people that typically don't have ducting in their house. So that is typically what is better for yourself. Benefits for having a heat pump, I would say, are maximizing the efficiency of overall. They are 3 to 4 times more efficient than most electrical systems, so that is always something to be mindful of. They're cost effective, as they have relatively higher efficiency. They reduce the overall cost as well. And the climate friendly as well. They're very low CO2 emissions, as we stated earlier, and so making that you're giving the environment a greener kind of future to itself. There's always too a good thing is that it improves your indoor air quality as well, as it was typically filtering out pollutants, and is also a little bit of dehumidifying that is coming from your heat pump as well. Other types of benefits will be typically the cooling and dehumidification of your house. That is basically, you can have always that evaporation piece that I was talking about there. They are very simple, as you can typically just set the heat pump, you can forget about it, and it will consistently run, or typically keep your temperature at the exact same temperature at all times. So you will have a more consistent and comfortable house. Ductless heat pumps, like I said earlier, have zonal heating, so they're a little bit more efficient with that. The central ducted systems, you won't get that as much, but you will typically have a little bit of a different methodology there. Heating typically too as well, heat pumps are the future. They are very efficient, they do what they do. Dual fuel systems are very much there as well, but you have both of that kind of efficiency and overall kind of keeping cooling during the summer as well. These are the different types of grants and rebates that are available for heat pumps as of right now. The Clean BC rebates, you get about $6,000 for replacing your fossil fuel, about $2,000 when you're replacing electric heating, and you have different various municipal top-ups that you would typically have to check your local programs for that. And then income qualified, like I said, has a little bit more at about $9,000 for those upgrades. One thing to always think of is having installed from the heat pump from the federal system, you'll get about $5,000. If you do have an old oil system as well, there is that affordability program for income qualified houses as well. Couple terms before we go with heat pumps I want to quickly touch on that you will hear a lot, hear from quotes and things like that, and knowing what they are is definitely beneficial to knowing what it is and what those kind of mean to you. First is going to be HSPF. That is the heating seasonal performance factor. That is all that it makes, is that how well does that heating system actually work. The higher the number, the better it is. Typically, most programs will require an HSPF of 10 or more. And then the other factor is the SEER, or the seasonal energy efficiency rating, which is the overall cooling benefits from heat pumps and things like that. And that is typically has to be over about 16 for most programs. So that is always kind of things, but always want to check with those as well. Next, we're going to be typically talking about insulation. Insulation is an item that basically helps you reduce the amount of heat transfer from the inside to the outside and vice versa. All it is basically doing is filling a gap that is in between your walls. That photo right there that is showing you is basically almost showing a fiberglass bat in the exterior of your wall. It is also showing how the wall should be kind of laid out. You have an exterior wall, you have insulation, you have an air barrier, which is what we'll talk about a little bit later, and then drywall at the end is typically how it would be done. The common products for these are cellulose, spray foam, loose fill, rock wool, are just to name a couple few. Benefits of insulation here. Overall better retention of your hot and cold air in the house, depending on the season, as I said. The improved house comfort for indoor temperatures. You'll have more consistency. That will be a common theme that will come up as much. Reduction of GHG as well. You don't need as much heating as for your house because your heating system doesn't have to rely on keeping the temperature higher or keeping it at the same amount as longer. Quieter comfort, basically you're stuffing your house around the outside with a bunch of insulation. That is also going to reduce the amount of vibration and outdoor noise that is coming into your house. As you live in a bustling city, that is always something to be concerned about. And then also you're going to reduce the overall maintenance and cost. As Bo kind of highlighted, it was reducing the amount of moisture and mildew and things like that that can happen in your house that are very detrimental and cause more problems to actually happen. So that is something that is always consistently to think about. You do need to also replace it every so often. So being cautious of it, or even just checking up on it, or having someone to come in and overall check in on it is always a good thing to do, as your energy evaluation would do that as well. Insulation incentives, these are the couple that are available to you. They're typically a little bit more broken up based off of the location they are in. First is going to be attic insulation, basement insulation, exterior walls, and exterior wall sheathing. What each one is or what they go to, don't be afraid to call the Clean BC line as well to get more clarification of what it means. But your insulation contractor as well should know exactly what it's going to go towards. The federal grant has a total right now a max of 5,000 to add your same thing as that. They're broken up into categories, but a little bit more simplified: attic insulation, crawl space, basement, and exterior walls. And you can also place these onto your loan as well. So that is always something to keep in mind. Again, as well, with insulation, I want to quickly go over some very key words or phrases that will typically come up as you typically go into a Home Depot and things like that. They'll tell you these words, or what do you need for an R value? These are very common terms that are typically used. An R value is just the amount of thermal potential, or the amount of heat that can get through that item. So in terms, the higher the R value, the better or more insulating that thing is. So that is all something you need to watch out for. RSI is just another version of that value. They are just kind of interchanged. Typically, you will only see the R value on typical products. Always look at Clean Better Homes BC to answer any questions for that as well. Next, just kind of backing onto that, air sealing, as we were just kind of talking about really quickly, is that kind of main thing. Air sealing reduces the amount of air and moisture into your house from leaking from outside. What it's essentially doing is controlling the uncontrolled air. You want to make sure that your heating system and air systems are controlling your air and filtering it your way, not the outside doing it for you. So that is what you typically are trying to do with air sealing. It can be done with many things, typically done by caulking, weather stripping, and that always needs to be done every couple of years, or typically making sure that how effectively it is kind of exposed to the outdoor world. So things that are typically external doors, you want to make sure that you're always checking those, making sure they're not cracking or anything like that. Top of your windows as well is always a typical miss part. So those are good things to always think of. Benefits of an air sealing that I've already been stating, improved efficiency of the house. Overall, you're going to reduce the amount of heat needed for the system to run, so you won't have to put more reliance on your heating system. Overall improved air quality, as the uncontrolled air is not coming into your house and you are now controlling it with your heat system and your air systems. You can now have your own air being filtered properly, as some people are typically have allergies or things like that, or pollutants or allergic to that. Those are good things to think about. Increased comfort as well. As you get better air quality, it's comfortable when it's typically in that moment. So it is always good to have that. And also the ability to have temperature fluctuations to stay the same is always amazing as well. You will also always, as well, we'll kind of state it again, but you also will always be reducing your environmental impacts, as you will be reducing the amount of energy you're using for the heating system, as you will be always making sure that your house is sealed all the way around. These are the incentives as of right now. Clean BC does not have any as of right now. Typically, these are done by yourself as much as I said earlier. They are caulking, weather stripping. There are always classes about them too as well. Your Home Depot as well can always give you a little bit of a guidance as well. But the federal program does have still a $1,000 rebate for that as well. Energy efficiency windows and doors, what are they? They reduce the amount of heat from your outside to your inside of your house. All it's going to do is have typically a lower emission glass or the double pane glass. Those are the typical common words you'll hear, and that is what you're trying to look for your windows as well. The higher the amount of panes and things like that, the better the efficiency of the window and stuff like that. Here we'll talk about the different components of the window, as they can typically get a little confusing as well. So first, it will be the low emission glass, as I was just stating, where it's a coating basically on the overall window. Next will be the overall glazing. That is almost kind of like a paint they put over the window. It just overall stops the noise from coming into your house. And then is basically an argon gas inside of the middle. It's kind of a little bit weird, but they typically put these gases in that are inert and will stop the amount of heat transfer in between. And then the other piece is the insulated spacers and frames at the bottom to prevent or reduce the amount of heat loss from windows, because as windows are exposed to natural sun, they heat up rapidly. So having some type of spacer to basically insulate that heating is definitely a good thing, and it's filling in those gaps. Benefits of having those windows like that, peace and quiet. As much as air sealing, you're going to have thicker windows, double to triple pane. The higher you go, the less you're going to hear from the outside. The overall too, you're going to protect your interior, as the glazings and the low E coatings, films protect your indoor of your house from your furniture, your flooring, from UV damage as well. Increased home value. It looks really nice to have nice new windows on there, as they're very efficient. They improve the aesthetic of it as well. And then you're also always going to save money. Everything here is going to save you a little bit of extra money. Those windows are a big thing, as they are typically the last thing that people typically upgrade, or they leave to the last little bit and are not as great. So always looking at windows as being an upgrade option is a good thing too. A couple terms and factors I want to tell you before we kind of go on the windows here will be the U factor. The U factor in general is the level of heat transfer as well, almost like insulation, of how much heat transfer goes through the window, but not like the R value, where the higher the value, the better. With the U factor, actually the lower the value, the better as well. So you always want to find typically the windows that have a lower U factor value, as you will have a higher efficiency and less heat loss through that window. Most installing of windows also has to be done from the Canadian different kind of certifications as well. So Energy Star is the most common certification, but there are different certifications that can be accepted, but those would be best to look on the Clean BC site or the federal site as well. These are the two different types of upgrades as well. There is the Clean BC upgrades, there's up to about $2,000. And if you're in the city of Vancouver, there is no rebates for windows. But also there is the $5,000 rebate for the grants from the federal system as well. And also as well, you can put windows on your loan for it. The heat pump water heaters will be one of the kind of last couple items we'll be talking about here. Heat pump water heaters are very similar to a heat pump where they pull the air from the outside, transfer the heat towards the inside, and then heat up your water through via a coil. They are very efficient, work very well, and are typically very climate friendly and are very easy to operate. Their efficiency as well is pretty good, and they have an overall decent reliability. They decrease your overall GHG, and they have smart controls on most of them now, as they are typically a very new and new item being kind of built into systems and houses nowadays. Incentives for water pump heaters, heat pump water heaters, sorry about that. We have rebates from CleanBC, about $1,000. There's different municipal top-ups to always check out as well for replacing fossil fuel to a heat pump water heater, so always checking those as well. And then the grants as well, there's only about $1,000 as well from that. And that is something also you can place on your loan as well. The last item here I will be kind of going over will be what is the solar renewable energy, and kind of giving you an idea of what you can do. Solar renewable energy is something we harness from the sun. It is very easy and reliable. It is getting cheaper as we go on in the years, and is very typically better for your house and offers so many benefits in reducing the amount of dependency on the grid and things like that. Overall, it's going to save you a lot of money, increase your home value, as you won't have to rely on the grid as well. Different things like power outages as well, you'll be able to kind of typically walk away from those. And then overall, you'll be saving money throughout the year. The one program I will highlight as well in the solar world is going to be the BC Hydro net metering program. That will typically, what will happen is if you have excess amount of energy or you are making, you will send it to the grid. They will give you a credit-based system, and they will typically give you credits back for any times you need electricity from them, and different vice versa as well. So that is something to always keep in mind. But yeah, that's part of the BC Hydro's CleanBC. Incentives with solar, there are none as of right now for CleanBC. Overall, there are some for grants in the federal system. There's the $5,000 for the solar panels. There's $1,000 for the battery connected for that. So, but you only get a max of $5,000 to keep that in mind. As always too, it's very common people actually use the loan for solar through the federal system as well. Like I said, it's 10%. It is 0% interest over 10 years for that $40,000 loan. Next, we're going to kind of go through the betterhomesbc.ca site and give you a little bit of an overview of how to navigate it, search it, as rebates are always changing and kind of modifying as well. First, when you open the page at betterhomesbc.ca, you'll be greeted with the search rebates in the center there. The next slide will kind of go into the next window as you go ahead. This will come up with your overall steps here. You'll pick your type of project. Are you renovating a home, building a home? Where are you located? So what Energy Save New West? So you typically be New Westminster, just so they can pick local programs as well and slot those in, or any top-ups that you might have. And then also, how is your home heated? So they can definitely also show you towards those proper items to yourself as well. Once you've kind of gone through that, you will look like this kind of photo here. You'll be given a plethora of different options and items to look through. They will give you different types of little kind of quick reads that you can click on that. It will tell you a lot more about the information of how to apply, what to do, how to go about it, and then any things that you need to keep in mind for what you need to do. This section here, you'll be finding on the very front page that I was showing a little bit earlier there. It will be under the self-serve resources on the top right. If you need to find a contractor or registered contractor for insulation upgrades, heat pump upgrades, or windows, you can definitely look up here, as these people are registered and have been registered with Clean BC. I always will kind of implore people to look at the FAQs as they do have a lot of information of what you need to ask, installation questions, windows questions, things like that, or where you need to go for your next steps, or even be able to guide you towards your next steps. It is definitely a good resource to use for that. The next piece here will be the to highlight as well is the energy coach service that I've been kind of highlighting as well. The phone number is on there, the email as well, and also the website would be something to look at as well. Next, we'll quickly go through how to access the different grants and rebates and what you need to do about them and kind of the different steps that you need to go through. Just want to highlight again the 2 stackable programs. You've got the province program, which will be up to about $13,000 in rebates total. And then you also have the municipal top-ups and also your regional programs as well that you want to check out. And then federally, you have the $5,000 grant, the $40,000 loan for 10 years and 0 interest, and the $10,000 oil to heat pump affordability program. First, for the process eligibility requirements, we're going to talk about eligible homes. Typically, with your eligible homes, you want to have a single family home, a duplex, a side-by-side, or a mobile home. Multi-unit residential buildings are typically not covered by the provincial program and only by the federal program. So that is one thing to keep note. And it is typically ideal that your home is over 12 months old to apply for both programs, as you need it for the provincial program, and the federal program is only 6 months, so it's better to just have it at 12 months. That will be kind of typically what your main things are. One, you also have to show that you are the legal homeowner of the house and that you are living at the house as a primary residence for both programs as well. The next one, we're going to be talking about pre-upgrades. So just starting out, just getting at the very start of it. The provincial program requires no pre-registration at all. You don't need an EnerGuide evaluation. You do, though, need to work with a registered contractor, and you are not allowed to do any DIY kind of upgrades or things like that. That's kind of just through the province system. The federal system, you have to basically sign up beforehand, sooner rather than later as well. And I will always say you'll need your pre-retrofit. You also need this for the loan as well. And you need to have a pre-retrofit before starting any upgrades at all. For the loan program, you also need to apply. You need to apply and be accepted before you also start any upgrades as well. So that is a big note. And DIY upgrades are somewhat available to the loan program and the grant program. You just have to look at what upgrades are. Most of them are typically your insulation, air sealing, and windows. You can also receive quotes for the loan beforehand, as you do need those to apply for it as well. How to apply for the provincial program, you need to apply 6 months after the date of invoice on your upgrade. You apply for the BC Hydro / Hero application, and you will choose the recommended completed upgrades you did. You can apply a couple different times as well, so that is something to keep in mind. If you do want to upgrade, you have to apply within that 6 months, and if you do another upgrade later down the road, you can apply again for another upgrade that you did then. That will typically be for that. The federal program for the loan and grants, you need to complete all your upgrades, and then you need to book a post retrofit. So that is another blower door test. The gentleman comes in and does that. They also check what upgrades you have got done as well. And then you will do the applying after that as well. So you'll be uploading some invoices and things like that. And then they will upload their report, and that stuff will be sent off to the federal government to check and be able to get your grant money. Key reminders I just want to go over here. Each upgrade has specific requirements, so always check online before completing the work. Provincial and federal requirements differ a little bit here and there, but always keeping in mind, just want to check those out and making sure that you're doing that before you start any upgrades. Check eligible products lists and things like that. Don't be afraid to ask the Clean Energy Coach service on where those are or how to get towards those. Access to federal loan programs, you must apply with quotes beforehand with your planned upgrades. And with the provincial program, it is firm for that 6-month deadline. That is why I'm saying always apply, and you can do the next upgrade again and apply. And so, yeah, just make sure you keep those things in mind. When in doubt, always contact the Energy Coach service. We will always be able to gladly help you make sure that you go down your retrofit journey the proper way. Any questions for me today?
Good job, Thomas. I think we had one question. Natalie was wondering about in-floor insulation, but not you're not talking about just typical crawl space basement wall insulation. You're talking of underflooring, right? Is that correct, Natalie?
Yes, hi. I had been in touch with you, Ryan. I'm in a strata development, so I don't qualify for a lot of grants, and I have 100-year-old windows, so I have that challenge, but which is so expensive to fix, and I can't with the strata anyways. So, but I can tell that there's a lot of cold coming through the concrete kind of flooring because I am on the ground floor, and I don't know if there's any solutions for insulation for underflooring that could help.
I don't have anything offhand. Perhaps we can
Hi.
make note of it and maybe look into it and come back to you. Natalie, I will say there is some movement on some new opportunities for stratas coming out. So stay tuned in the next, like I would say, more weeks, months to hear about some new program offers specifically tailored for strata buildings and supporting with energy retrofits. There was a pilot a couple years back, and it's taken a bit of time to get another initiative to fruition, but it looks like that's coming together. So nothing official to announce today, but there's been some progress made on that front, and we're looking forward to seeing a new program offering here quite
Okay,
soon.
wonderful. That's good to know. Thank you.
So it'll be in our, like everything, once it's out, we will issue some stuff in our newsletter to folks and anybody who's put in requests, because we have lots of people who say, what about stratas? And we've been keeping people's information as part of their registration. And once the signal comes out of that program, we'll be following up with everybody who's on our wait list to make sure that they have accessibility as soon as possible to that. And you know how to reach me
Yes, thank you very much.
or us.
Hi, how are you?
Hi, Musa.
Hi, good. Actually, I'm wondering about the support coming from the federal and by the way, I'm newcomer to New Westminster, so I'm not so familiar with the laws and regulations. So maybe excuse me if I did something wrong during my discussion. But regarding the government support, is it going to be same payment, whatever the size of the house, big, small, multi-story, or something like that? This is, I mean, I'm talking commercial from commercial perspective. Second, I mean, who is doing the visible study regarding the material? And for example, we do. If you are aware about the insulation up to limit, there is, and the insulation will have good impact on the energy saving, but after a certain amount or thickness, it won't be that efficient. So the more you put cost or pump more insulation, it's not going to give you much energy saving. So this needs to be, I mean, some regulation or guidance related to these topics, because I'm working in that field in the United Arab Emirates. I used to work there for 27 years. So who is going to be put the study, or there is a consultant who work on putting design or put his recommendation and specification related for the retrofit sorry, and the upgrading of the house, or it is some guideline from the authority or municipality of New Westminster. Second, who is going to appoint the contractor? And who's going to assign the contractor who's doing the job? Is it by the landlord or by the program itself? And final question about the zero energy buildings. I mean, it is so important to save energy to have a solar system or any other energy source like geothermal or any wind or whatever. My understanding so far, it seems the solar is so attractive here in British Columbia, similar to Gulf, in the Gulf region. So the solar also payment, it seems very limited. It's not that supported by the government. It should be more focus on the solar system in order to generate energy, free energy, and that's why we can replace the oil with a heat pump, which I totally agree that heat pump is an amazing solution. It's a very low energy unit. Although it is very old technology, it's not recently in the market. It's so strange that not yet used in so widely in British Columbia.
Mhm.
And we can also, as I said, we can connect all the solar power to the grid and sell it when we have peak or over amount of power, and rebuy it or re-get it from the grid when we have shortage in power supply. I hope I delivered my message because I want to be fast and throw my all my question to you in one shot. Thank
Yep.
you so much.
Well, thank you for your questions and comments, Musa. Welcome to New Westminster, by the way.
Thank
So you
you.
have a few there. Thomas, maybe we can tag team this. Specifically on your question regarding, I saw you were highlighting sort of the diminishing returns through and some cost benefit analysis around like what are the types of measures and the package that best optimize from a
Exactly.
energy standpoint and from a cost standpoint. Like it's a very good one. When we're sort of the information that we're conveying tonight is really around older buildings that are already really under insulated. So they don't even have sort of what would be BC building code requirements currently. So we're looking at sort of like bringing the performance of those really like underperforming buildings up to a better standard. So I wouldn't see like over insulating in these cases to be a risk. There's also like limitations in terms of the actual building itself and the application. Right. So and really it's with the energy advisor and with obviously an insulation contractor, it's between those two as well as the homeowner and like their investment and and their areas of interest that helps to determine the the right sort of investment and what upgrade gets done. And then as Thomas is highlighting and maybe wants to speak to in a bit more detail, the actual incentives and rebates. And that's from an existing homes perspective. Musa, I totally hear you from a new construction lens where you have a blank canvas and you're able to like better design out of the gate and better select a recipe of measures and ideal insulation and air tightness values and detail and get it constructed properly. Like that's a whole other conversation. But your point's well taken in terms of
Okay.
knowing the right approach and having
All
the right
right.
people supporting you with coming up with the right approach.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, so to speak on the other side of things there, incentives wise for solar and things like that, like I said kind of earlier a bit, the current incentives are mostly solar because that is the cheapest option of all. I will be very blunt. Geothermal is very expensive to do right now for a lot of applications, and it's certain instances it doesn't work for many places. It typically is more for like northern communities or more central BC places. Just for distance and sizing is a little bit harder to do that, but solar is a little bit more fruitful for that. The grant is the only one currently. Clean BC changes a lot as they do change requirements every year, almost every couple months, they typically change that. Jen might know exactly what that time frame is, but they do modify a lot throughout the year. So it's always keeping an eye out for, say, hey, they'll pop up a new rebate for something like that. So always keeping an eye out for that, as they do want to modify it and modify as they go. This is a green, we're moving towards green together, and different faucets are always changing. New home construction, a lot of the new home construction now has to have energy tests done, has to be at certain levels and things like that now. So there is that going forward. If every year it gets more strict as those things are getting builds are getting more strict as they get on per years. So that will soon enough, I can't remember the exact date, but soon enough they have to actually be net zero or net zero ready houses by a certain time frame. So those are kind of things like that. But yeah, as Jen noted there, October and April, they do typically clean BC updates, and the federal government almost does the same thing. They are also always continuously changing and modifying. They added the affordable homes program just this past year for co-op housing and kind of houses that are older and that are big, huge multi-residential buildings that need deep energy retrofits. There is a massive program that's out for that, and they're giving more large loans for big buildings to kind of do big, deep retrofits. Yeah, I would look at everything always as a kind of thing, and it's modifying very fast as we go on.
Is there any sustainability applied here in like gold, platinum, or silver as per LEED? Is it any mandatory regulation in that regards, or it's still
Step
under
code.
progress?
Yeah, lead still exists as like there's two things, Musa, that are kind of going on. There is labeling, which you're talking about in certifications, and LEED does exist in Canada, as well as like Passive House, and there is some Canadian programs as well, R2000, Net Zero by Canadian Home Builders Association, as well. In BC, we actually have a performance-based code, which is Energy Step Code, and recently adopted the Zero Carbon Step Code, which is regulating the carbon emissions from buildings as part of new construction. So a lot of the familiar programs that are used worldwide are in Canada, as well as some sort of like more special initiatives. And BC, to be honest with you, as you'll find out as you maybe explore more about what's happening in Canada, we're quite frankly the petri dish, and as well as the innovator hub for the rest of Canada. Like we've led in terms of our step code turning into the national building code, and now the carbon code, zero carbon step code as well. I know we're kind of at time, or past time, so I'm conscious of everybody's time in staying with us for the evening. So I don't know if there's any like final questions. If not, we'll kind of wrap it up here. I did want to say one last thing. So any final questions or thoughts? I don't know, Thomas, did you want to finish up, or are you
Nope.
guys, you and Jennifer good?
Yeah, I'm all good.
Okay. And Leigh, I don't know if you're still there, if you wanted to say anything. But anyways, thanks. I just want to say thanks for everybody for coming out. Thomas, Jennifer, thank you for being gracious with your time and the slides. Thanks everybody for your questions. Bo, super appreciate you providing some input. And the last thing is we've done probably close to 25 webinars and building industry development sessions with builders and architects around step code and green building. We've just started to foray into this homeowner engagement. This is our third webinar. We did 2 on heat pumps and then this one. We definitely encourage folks, if you have ideas or things that you'd like to hear, please reach out to us via our contact us and newsletter and stuff like that. And we'd be happy to look at topics that are relevant and of interest to folks in the local community. So we're always looking for ideas to do sessions like this where we can get people out. Alrighty. So with that, thanks a lot, everybody. Really appreciate it. Yeah, we'll see you again soon. Bye now.
Thank you so much.